Assemblymember Dababneh, I didn't see him here. Assembly Nazarian is not here. File item number 7, AB 485. Assemblymember Williams. Sir, file item number 7.
How are you doing, Mr. Chairman?
Another great day in paradise. Light it up. Show us some good stuff. What do you got?
AB 485 would establish a prevention of animal homelessness and cruelty fund and check-off box for voluntary contributions on the California state tax returns. There have been previous funds that focus specifically on spay and neutering support. Sadly, most of these measures failed to meet the contribution threshold and dropped off the list. Though it was close, it sort of fluctuated just above and just below. And the goal of the new fund proposed in AB 485 is to reach a wider selection of contributors by expanding the use of fund dollars above the $250,000 threshold to remain as a checkoff, which would include animal cruelty prevention and investigation services and be open to nonprofits. I believe in the face of recent animal cruelty cases here in Sacramento, statewide, and the resounding public outcry, there is increased confidence that adding cruelty funding and responding to the voluntary checkoff will draw new donors, hopefully sustaining this fund for the long haul.
Move the bill.
The bill's been moved by Senator Laura. Witnesses in support.
It is sponsored by the State Humane Society of California and supported by the SPCA and the Humane Society, but unfortunately they had to leave and cannot give testimony, but we have one witness here, actually two here in
Please.
Chairman Hertzberg, committee members, my name is Erica Hughes, and I am the Executive Director of the State Humane Association of California. For over 100 years, my organization, SHAC, has advocated on behalf of our state's humane societies and SPCAs, the nonprofit animal adoption organizations that work tirelessly day in and day out to rehome homeless and abandoned animals. They're organizations that are all individually incorporated and not affiliated with any national group, and many of which opened their doors in the late 1800s. Organizations like SPCA LA, the San Diego Humane Society and SPCA, the San Francisco SPCA, are humane societies and SPCAs throughout the state. And these are organizations with annual budgets of $5, $10, $20 million, organizations that are deeply rooted in their communities, and organizations that provide the safety net for the animals that have nowhere else to turn. We are very proud to sponsor AB 485, which will enable these shelters to expand on the already very good work that they do, and for some to expand into new areas. These are things that will not only benefit the animals in our state, but our communities as a whole. I respectfully urge you to vote in favor of 485, and to give animal shelters additional funding for these crucial life-saving programs. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Karen Lang on behalf of State Humane Association of California as well as SPCA LA. I just wanted to point out we do acknowledge that in the past this has fallen off of the tax checkoff. We've come back, it's got a new name, it's going to do new things, and I also want to point out that since the last time I was on, Twitter has really expanded its use. The nonprofits that we're talking about have an excellent network of supporters, and now that through the amended version of the bill, they may be able to access some of those funds directly. We anticipate that there might be a lot more outreach to taxpayers as they're filing their tax checkoff, so that hopefully we'll earn a much higher amount in future years. So for all these reasons, we ask for your aye vote today, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any others in support? Any opposition? You know, I just asked the committee staff to give us, for the members, to share with the members in view of what, and I think you're right, Senator Hernandez, of this more strategic approach. Let's have before us, in all of these instances, all the, how many tax checkoffs, 18 or 19 we have, each one of them we have, and how much they raise, so we can look at it holistically and take a look at it. You know, we talked about in one of the earlier measures how much headroom we still have. There was a 31 you actually have space for before, after there was some number.
12 to 15.
More left?
Yes.
Yeah, 12 to 15 more on the 18 or 19 that we have. But just to have that always as we go forward on these things so we can see it in larger context. Any questions from the members? You want to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Okay, the bill has moved. The motion is due pass to, where's it? Oh, due pass to appropriations by Senator Laura. Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg?
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Nguyen?
Bell. Bell, I. Hernandez. Hernandez, I. Laura. Laura, I. Morlock. Morlock, I. Pavley. 5-0.
5-0, hold it open for the absent members. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Senators.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, the Democratic Caucus Chair Eggman, AB 515. I think there was not, you're up next because the other, Dababneh is not here, and Nazarian. Okay?
Down.
File item number 9, 515, income tax credit for food bank donations. File item number 9.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to start by saying good morning, and I accept the committee's amendments. AB 515 will help increase access to fresh
How'd you get that?
and healthy food by expanding the state's tax credit for donations of food to qualified nonprofit organizations such as food banks. California is the leading producer of agriculture in the U.S., yet many Californians still suffer from hunger and poor nutrition. To help alleviate the state's hunger issues and limit food waste, existing law authorizes farmers to receive a tax credit if they donate their surplus product to a food bank. However, the categories that are included in that are only fresh fruits and vegetables, which leave a lot off the table, such as meat, nuts, dried fruit, dairy products. So this bill would expand what can be donated to food banks. And it will also adjust things because the current tax credit is based on donations of the inventory value of the donation, which can vary greatly between, as the value is determined for each individual grower and the produce and the food to the state. This requires donors to use a very extremely complicated tax code. So we're also streamlining that, and to further stimulate donations, we're also broadening the categories of the eligible food, expanding the tax credit to 15% of the donated wholesale value, and to extend the sunset until 2021. And I don't know about a lot of you, but I've been out into a lot of food banks, and they could fill their warehouses with unhealthy things, but they really do their best to bring in healthy fruits and vegetables. This, to me, is a way to provide tax credits for the farmers. They've got, and you know, even if they donate this food, they still have to do the labor, the water, everything else. So the cost remains the same for them, whether they donate it or not. So this allows them to be able to donate at a more in a more reasonable way, as well as provide more fresh fruits and vegetables to people, as well as expand the kind of food that can be donated. I see this as a win-win. It supports California agriculture as well as supporting our food banks and those who are in the most need of food.
They have similar programs and see how successful they were. I mean, you know, we're the tax committee, so we've got to always look at all these costs and stuff. And, you know, I mean, obviously, there's a trade-off here. You're providing, if the government is using a tax credit, that means the government's not getting income, which means that it's then indirectly supplementing it, which is fine. And the government has other responsibilities or other services that they provide. If this, in fact, increases the delivery of food, if it has impacts on health costs, all sorts of stuff. Do you have any studies on that or other jurisdictions that can help us understand it? I mean, logically it makes sense, but just to show its feedback effect of being positive, you know what I mean? If you don't have it now, but I think it's a really important thing as you go forward to show that, because I think evidentially that exists. This is a 15% tax credit, which means it costs somebody a little amount of money, but I bet you got that stuff. I mean, I saw the costs in our analysis, but there's the other side, as we've talked about earlier in this committee, the balance sheet of where the benefits are beyond the humane benefits. You got numbers on that?
Could I just, my name is Andrew Shane. I'm a co-sponsor of the bill with the California Association of Food Banks. That study's in the field right now, the National Feeding America Food Bank Network. So they're piloting. They've done pilots, and the pilots are successful.
When do you expect to come out of the field?
2 years, because this is really a long-term study in terms of actually following folks, looking at the health, trajectory, and really focusing on low-income populations who are the most likely to have chronic diseases, and the biggest bang for a buck, as you're saying, in terms of when we provide access to nutritious food.
Healthcare, diseases, all that stuff. It's all really important.
Right, because we know diabetes, hypertension, and obesity are some of our big drivers in our healthcare costs, and so whatever we can do, and they're more amplified in lower debt.
Any other studies that are out there other than this thing? Can you share with
there's one so the punchline, Dr. Hilary Seligman from UCSF, we know that there's a 25% increase in the use of emergency services in the fourth week of a month among low-income folks when their budgets run out, right? And they're not taking their meds, they're not buying their food, they don't have enough food to take their meds, those kinds of situations. So we do know that there is already, that's some of the data we have currently.
Well, can you share that with the committee members? because I think these are really important kinds of things, because every time we have a hearing, we always have these, and we want to back it up and really, and we're going to ultimately, as Senator Hernandez suggested, do like an informational hearing and try to figure out priorities and what to do on these tax credits, and having this data would be very helpful to us.
Very good.
Okay, others in support?
Hi, my name is Michael Flood. Thank you, Chairman Hertzberg and members of the committee for inviting me here today. I'm the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank. We provide food to the greater communities of Los Angeles County, and I'm here to discuss the importance of this bill in our work and among the work of food banks throughout California. According to national data, nearly 1 in 6 people in California are struggling and facing hunger, including 1 in 4 children. So this is a serious concern that we have. Los Angeles County, unfortunately, has a dubious distinction of being home of the nearly 1.5 million food insecure people, which makes this the largest population of any area in the United States. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is committed that no one in our community should go hungry, and receiving donations from our agricultural partners is a critical channel for us to achieve this goal and deliver high quality and healthy food to the people we serve. Statewide, California food banks received more than 100 million pounds of fresh produce donations in 2014, and for our food bank, 10 million pounds was distributed to the community. And this incredibly nutritious source of food not only helps sustain the health of those in need, as you pointed out, Chairman Hertzberg, but also stretches our limited budgets in providing help to those. This is where AB 515 will provide an essential policy change. It would expand the tax credit, as you've heard, for farm donations to food banks beyond produce to include other sources such as meat, dairy, rice, and beans. This is especially helpful for many food banks such as ours who are purchasing items such as eggs and have seen these items increase and are looking for donated products so that we can reach the people in our community with culturally appropriate food. In terms of the leveraging of this, for every $1 in tax credit, an estimated 10 to 20 pounds of food is donated by the agricultural community. That varies because, of course, of the value of the food that's being donated. And this is a huge input to us in Los Angeles and throughout California so we can provide more nutritious, healthy food to people who are hungry in our community. Thank you so much.
Well, that's it. So just real quickly, just if you say it's 10 to 20, every $1 of tax credit results in 10 to 20 pounds per dollar. And if you looked at your estimates right now at the general fund cost of $400,000, that's between 4 million and 8 million pounds of food. You indicated that in Los Angeles alone, you're at 10 million. Statewide, it's how many millions distributed?
Over 100, actually.
100 million. Yeah. So you're talking about an increase of, if it's 100 million, it's 4 to 8% of increase in food. And last question is, you said that 1 in every 4 kids is food insecure, 1
Correct.
every 6 adults.
Correct.
What's the correlation between your food banks and delivering food to that number? What impact do you have on that number? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we reach 280,000 people each month through our network of agencies in Los Angeles County. So those are the people seeking food assistance.
So 1 in 6 in California.
In LA County, we're looking at 1.5 million people who are struggling with food insecurity, right? So, yes.
Bill's been moved, so it's about a third of the people you're hitting. I'm just curious how deep of an impact it has. Bill's been moved.
Yes.
Okay, others in support.
Mr. Chairman and members, John Gamper representing the California Farm Bureau Federation. I won't be repetitive, but I would like to point out that changing from the inventory cost to the wholesale value will significantly decrease the cost of compliance for our members to donate food. So that's why we're proud to be a co-sponsor of this measure.
Excellent. Others in support. Do you have a question, Senator?
Yeah.
John Larea with the California League of Food Processors. We represent the largest industrial food processors in the state, and we are fully behind this bill. By allowing us to be able to then bring in our processed foods as well, you're going to increase not only the variety of the types of foods, but also the shelf lives, and give the food banks the ability to actually direct those foods to the people that need them the most. We are, as I said, we're fully behind this and believe this is the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We thought it was important to include salsa.
Yeah.
Chair and members, Kathy Mossberg representing the Public Health Institute, as well as the California Food Policy Advocates, also in strong support.
Thank you.
Amy Garfinkel on behalf of the Western Center on Law and Poverty. We are also in strong support of this bill. We thank the Assembly member for introducing it, and we urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Karen Liggett, and one of my old hats used to be for working for a food bank, and they are in dire need of food. So
Thank you.
I thank you. And Senator Bill, I was meaning about the kids being safe for your bill, but I appreciate all you senators.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to clarify.
Opposition? Any opposition to the measure? Senator Lara?
Thank you. I want to thank the Assemblywoman for bringing this important issue. And we talk about LA. A couple instances and what have occurred in my district in particular is where school employees, and we haven't addressed the issue of actually schools being able to, what are they doing with the leftover food? There's been instances in my district where a couple of cafeteria workers have either been fired or castigated for leaving food out so that kids can actually take it home. Or some of the students are relegated to actually go through the dumpsters to get food. That breaks my heart. We're working on some sort of solution for next year, but we'd love to work with you and you, Assemblywoman, of how do we really tackle this issue and bring our agriculture industry into the urban areas. It's the perfect way of connecting the Central Valley to our urban cores, where we talk about the sense of poverty and the lack of food. And so the only option some of my kids have, knowing that, you know, the only food they're going to get is at school. The second option is we have, you know, blocks and blocks of fast food restaurants where they can get something very cheap and very quick. And which leads to the fact that in Bell Gardens, in my district, we have in LA County the highest indices of childhood obesity. And there was a study done in LA County, and Bell Gardens has the highest, and Manhattan Beach has the lowest indices of childhood obesity. And so this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I would love to be a co-author if I can, if there's an opportunity to do that. But I think we really also need to get to what's happening in the urban core and giving our schools the opportunity to be able to, what they're utilizing this leftover food for, instead of throwing it away, they can give it to shelters or by any means leave it out so that kids can be able to take that home without stigmatizing the child. There was 2 girls in Cudahy, in an elementary school in Cudahy in my district, that actually won an award because they actually went around picking up the fruit that was left over and created an after-school little box for folks to take. And these were 2 little elementary girls that saw this, that was happening, so they were seeing their friends actually trying to climb through the dumpsters to be able to get food so they can take back home. And so this is a reality, folks. This is happening in the richest state in our country and in the richest
agriculture state.
Right, and in our agricultural state, exactly, which is our #1 economy, which many people don't realize, especially those of us in Southern California, that agriculture continues to be the #1 economy in our state. And so, I mean, I don't mean to ramble, but this is something that really touches me at my very core, given the importance of what's happening in not only my district, but I'm sure it repeats itself and multiplies itself all over the state. And so I look forward to working with you on this issue next year, and we'll look forward to partnering with you. And again,
and our children as well as our seniors.
Right, exactly, our children and our seniors. So thank you for bringing this issue up, and I would love to be a co-author on this issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being the initial chair of the Commission to End Homelessness in Orange County, and working with Dr. Eric Handler on this program, I'm all there. I just have some technical questions, because a farmer actually has all of his costs already deducted. So when he's giving extra fruits and vegetables, he's already gotten his deduction, so now you're giving him a tax credit on top of that, so it's sort of a bonus. And I'm just curious, do we reduce the business expenses by the amount of the credit, or do you get both the deduction and the credit in double dip?
Which part of the deduction are you talking about?
Well, if you've got all your fixed costs into your property, you've paid for your labor, your water, everything, so you've already gotten your deduction, so you're not selling some of this product, but you've already expensed it off, and now you're saying, I'm going to give it to a food bank. So you really shouldn't get any more deductions, but now you're saying, okay, we're going to give you a credit, which is like really great, because maybe they wouldn't glean it, which, so just help me out. How you get both the write-off and the credit? I'm an accountant. I'm just trying.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, your answer to the question is yes. I mean, you are getting the benefit, but what you do is you balance that benefit against what we saw here in terms of the impact and the benefit of that food to others. But I think from an accounting standpoint, you're accurate because you've already expensed it off. You're not selling it, right? Yeah, exactly right. It's inventory you're giving away.
Early, you wouldn't get any more. You're just being a good person. So how does the Franchise Tax Board audit that? How do they know that? You have an answer? That it's fair and...
I don't know about the Franchise Tax Board. John Larea with the California League of Food Processors. My understanding is this is aimed at processed foods. The tax credit that goes to the farmers, they have to give the fresh, but we're the ones who process the food and they're able to give it out. And we don't have that currently, is my understanding. So what this does is it opens up our ability to provide canned goods, dairy products, freeze-dried, all nature of wholesome, well-processed, safe foods that the food banks can now give out, whereas the farmers have to give it in a fresh form, which is, number one, doesn't last that long. It must be used almost immediately and has low storage facilities. So,
right, but it's the farmers that are getting the credit, correct?
And the food processors. Part of it, correct, for part of it.
But food processors also get
limited.
And we don't have that right now.
Mr. Chairman, John Gamper, representing the California Farm Bureau. The current credit was enacted in 2011, only applied to fresh fruits and vegetables. This bill would extend it to life-sustaining protein sources, such as meats and eggs and beans, and processed vegetables, processed fruits and vegetables that will have longer shelf life. The difference is, the alternative is either the farmer sells the product or the farmer donates the product. If he sells a product, he makes more per unit by selling it on the open market. If he donates the product, then he gets the tax credit to offset the loss that he doesn't receive by selling it on the market.
Right, but he's already had the loss, so whatever, he could toss it and nothing changes on his...
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to take a loss. He could actually put it in the market chain and sell it versus donating it.
Right, or it perishes.
Anything further?
Well, I was just curious, what kind of gleaning programs do you have? Senator Lara already mentioned it, but do you get volunteers out to help
Yeah, many food banks do. In Los Angeles, it's an organization called Food Forward. It does a lot of that work. But our sister food bank just north of us in Ventura County has those types of programs where they have volunteers going out to the fields and gleaning or picking the surplus product. So that does occur, but where the volume for food banks has come from over the last, I'd say 10 years, and looking at working with farmers and growers, is the product that is not, in essence, going to make it to market and is going to be left in the fields, probably. Instead of being, collected and dumped, they're just going to disc it under, right? So it's product that's still wholesome, but isn't maybe meeting grade A or USDA guidelines. So that's what we've been able to capture over these last 10 years and grow from that standpoint. So I don't know the technical answer to your questions. I am not an accountant, but there is certainly an incentive for a farmer and grower through this tax incentive to donate as opposed to just leave it in the fields. And there are some, again, as we know, expenses compared to leaving in the fields and bringing it in and putting it into the produce bins and the like to make it available for us to pick up. The transportation is on our side to pick up this product. So that's a little bit, doesn't answer your question, Senator, but at least gives you a little bit of background.
This morning, I'm in a real mood to kill every credit that comes through here, and you're making it very difficult.
All right, thank you very much. I too would like to be, if you amend this, to be added to as a co-author. I think it's great. I think it's really great, Senator Eggman. So we want to close?
Thank you very much for the discussion and for your aye vote.
And we have motion, I think, by Senator Lara. He'd move this. Okay, Secretary, call the roll. Oh, second, do pass as amended to appropriations. Okay? Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg?
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Wynn? Bell? Bell, aye. Hernandez? Hernandez, aye. Lara? Lara, aye. Morlock? Morlock, aye. Pavley? Pavley, aye. You have 6.
Thank you very much.
Question was resolved on page 6 of the bill, on line 36, that the credit does reduce the amount. So,
okay. No double dipping.
No double.
Okay, I would have double dipped, by the way. I don't care. I'm okay with that. Thank you very much. We'll keep that open for Senator Nguyen. Let me just quickly, my understanding is that Chairman Gomez is going to present for Assemblyman Nazarian on AB, I guess he's got two measures, right? Yes. But before we do that, let's just call the roll on the consent calendar. Do we have a motion on consent? So moved by Senator Bell. Second, this is on file item number 5, AB 283 Nazarian, and file item 16, AB 1403 Mainshine. Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Nguyen. Bell. Bell, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Laura. Laura, aye. Morlock. Morlock, aye. Pavley. Pavley, aye. You have 6-0.
6-0. We'll hold it open for Senator Nguyen. Okay. File item number 6, AB 428 Nazarian, presented by Chairman Gomez. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. AB 428 establishes a 5-year 30% tax credit for qualified costs for seismic retrofit construction of qualified at-risk building. Specifically, this bill caps the total amount of credits to $60 million over 5 years. Through a process of local certification, the Franchise Tax Board would administer the credit on a first-come, first-served basis. In order to prevent loss of life and the destruction of property, it is critical that we take steps to prevent such strategies seen during the Loma Prieta Northridge, as most recently in the county of Napa, in the city of Napa. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Moved by Senator Laura. Those in favor, just listen to testimony quickly. I'm just going to, those in favor?
Mr. Chair and members, Shanta Pakin on behalf of the California Apartment Association. We are in strong support. Seismically retrofitting an apartment unit is one of the most expensive things a landlord can do. Most of the buildings we're talking about are soft story buildings. They're smaller units, typically owned by small mom and pop landlords. And with the cost of a retrofit estimated between $10,000 and $20,000 per apartment unit, this bill will go a long way to help encouraging and helping owners pay for this and keeping their tenants and their communities safe. Thank you.
Others in support?
Sylvia Solis on behalf of the City of Los Angeles. During the '94 Northridge earthquake, the city lost nearly 50,000 housing units, the vast majority of which were multifamily soft-story apartment buildings. We believe that this bill, AB 428, is an important step in moving forward the city's preparedness plans. We believe that this would help building owners retrofit some of these most at-risk structures, many of which tend to be some of the most affordable housing units in the city. So we ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
You lost Hertzberg's house on that one, too. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Don Shinsky. I'm here on behalf of the Structural Engineers Association of California. We are technically in a support, if amended, position. We do certainly support the use of tax credits to strengthen our built environment in California. We think a better bill might include a couple different elements. One, maybe some instructions to the local jurisdictions around exactly which performance levels or engineering standards might apply for eligible products, and also some guidance or urging that local jurisdictions maybe prioritize a little bit beyond who might have the horsepower or the capacity to apply for credits early and often. It would seem to us that it would be in the taxpayers' interest to look at projects that have specifically the most benefit for taxpayers rather than just the ability of who gets in there first.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Mr. Chair, members, David Jones on behalf of the City of Burbank, in strong support. Important bill for us. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members, Dan Carrick on behalf of League of Cities, in support for all the reasons that have been stated. Thank you.
Opposition? Oh, good. Sure, go ahead.
I apologize. Sylvia Solis again on behalf of the City of Santa Monica, in strong support.
Santa Monica as well. Well, then forget about it. I'm sorry. Any opposition? Questions? Senator Pavley and then Senator Bell.
Not really a question, but
Is your microphone on?
I think it is.
It is, yeah. Okay.
Not really a question, but something we should collectively think about. And Senator Hertzberg, you can help me do this. Not necessarily in this bill, but I see this as a real opportunity to manage energy efficiency in these reconstruction of homes.
Right.
one of the governor's goals is increasing energy efficiency
Right.
by 40%. The only way you do that is existing buildings. Multifamily dwelling units would be a perfect way to increase our energy efficiency, or water conservation kinds of elements in these retrofits all at once instead of redoing them separate times. It also, in many of these cases, since they're multi-dwelling units, people could use the additional disposable income on saving on their utility bills and their water bills, as long as DWP doesn't raise the rates. But it's really an opportunity to put together potential projects through either SB 375, an affordable housing component, but in any dwelling unit, regardless whether it's affordable or not, expenditure of greenhouse gas emissions in conjunction with prioritizing some of these seismic retrofits.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because if you're messing around with structural
100%.
integrity
Do it at
of
once.
the building, let's do the windows.
Right.
Let's do the.
Right. Do it at once. Senator Bell. It's good. I like it.
Just a comment, coming from a standpoint of priorities for the tax credit, life safety has to be the top priority. So in terms of, dwellings where people live, schools, those kinds of buildings that where children are or seniors, life safety has to be the top priority. I served on the Seismic Safety Commission for, I think it's like 4 years. And, it's my belief that the whole seismic retrofit area is severely underfunded in California. And we need to make major efforts to increase the funding for seismic retrofits of buildings, especially where people reside or children are or vulnerable populations exist. So.
Thanks, sir. Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of technical questions. So we talked earlier this morning about tax credit performance measures, and this bill excludes that provision that there won't be measurement. I'm just curious why.
I don't know. I'll see if any of these folks can answer that. If not, I'll ask the author as the bill moves forward. I think he would be open to that discussion.
This goes to, due pass to appropriations. We have the chairman here. I do think that's an important notion in all of this stuff. We talked, Assemblyman Gomez, we talked earlier, just if you can share this with the Nazarian's office, about kind of, as we look at all these tax credits, especially ones that we think are going to be impactful, that if we can look at and do some kind of study, some kind of follow-up to find out how did they achieve did they achieve what they were supposed to achieve? Because it's basically a tax credit. It's nothing more than spending taxpayer dollars in a different form, right? You're just taking in one side of the balance sheet versus the other. And so having some standard in there that can say, well, what was the outcome? We made this decision. We have the Franchise Tax Board estimates as to what the costs are going to be, but there's also a number of other benefits, and to really look at it in a more holistic, comprehensive way as we move forward, because I think that's one of the things that's abundantly clear from the will of this committee membership is that we want to look strategically at these things and put in necessary metrics, which is good government, smart. Okay?
It definitely sounds like a reasonable approach, and if the Appropriations Committee and the author of this bill come to a conclusion that's included, I'll definitely have a chance to vote on the concurrence of the bill when it gets back to, and if it passes the floor of the Senate, it gets back to the Assembly. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything further from the members? Yes, please. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Sure. The estimates that the Franchise Tax Board is assuming that it will cost the general fund revenues doesn't match with this $12 million cap, and I was. Shouldn't they kind of like be the same? If you have a $12 million per year tax credit, shouldn't you have a reduction in revenues by $12 million as opposed to $2.7 million in 17-18 and $4.6 million?
I think they're estimating what the use, what the utilization will be, right?
That would be the difference?
Yeah, that's the difference. It's utilization. It's going to take a while to ramp up for folks to start to utilize it, for businesses to start doing it, and that they're estimating a ramp up. That's why. Yeah, that's my read. Okay.
How do they get to that estimate? What kind of factors do they use? I'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, no idea. You have to get the Franchise Tax Board on that one.
The Franchise Tax Board, we had to hire 98 employees to accommodate the earned income tax credit. How many employees is it going to take to go through all these grant applications to try and get this allocation for the credit, since it's limited?
Yeah.
I believe that maybe, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the Appropriations Committee will look at what kind of pressure this would put on the general fund and what would the Board of Equalization will require to fulfill this bill. And then that will inform their decision if this bill moves forward out of the Appropriations Committee or not. That's just a shot in the dark. Maybe that's how it works.
I think it's exactly how it works. It's exactly what your job is and what Senator Laura's job is the two respective appropriations chairs. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Anything further? Senator Pavley?
Briefly, I remember when Senator Wilk and I were looking at the total amount of tax credit expenditures over time, simple majority to add them, 2/3 to take them away, and it's a problem. Do we have now a requirement that all these new ones, at least, sunset at some period of time just for the sake of review and evaluation? Otherwise, they never come off the books. We never prioritize what's relevant in the 21st century compared to, I don't want to sound like Mr. Morlock, but
this bill sunsets on January 1st, 2022.
Are all the tax credit bills, I mean, we have a ton of them today, and it seems to add.
But what was the standard on Senator Leno's measure? Didn't Senator Leno require all of these things?
We've tried over and over again to try to.
Senator Leno's analysis says Section 41 does not apply on Governor Brown signed SB 1335, Leno's measure, which added Revenue Tax Code section blah, 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 that recognized the legislature to apply the same level of review used for governmental spending programs to tax preference programs, including tax credits. Thus, it requires, so it goes through that analysis. And this is what Senator Leno was looking at. But before you got here, at Senator Hernandez's suggestion, we talked about doing a broader informational hearing where we really analyzed and put together a strategy on these tax credits and figure out what to do as a policy committee, and maybe do so in conjunction with Assemblymember Ting and the Revenue Tax Committee, so we can really kind of, as a legislative branch, have some strategic approach.
I can't remember how many billions of dollars of.
$34 billion. I've been looking at this for SB 8, but the $34 billion in deductions is there's tax credit side in terms of one kind of expenditures, and then of course there's deduction, which is another kind of expenditures. And we're looking at all of them.
I'm not opposed to tax credits per se, but I think you have to put in something that requires a review. And so you reprioritize what you think is most important now. They're hard to take off the books. In my 13 years in office, I only remember one vividly. And the only one we could get a 2/3 vote on to get rid of was taking away the teacher's tax credit for all the personal supplies they bought for their classroom.
Oh my God.
That was in the assembly. That was it. That was the only one you could get a 2/3 vote on. So philosophically, I guess for some people, really impossible to ever vote to take away a tax credit.
Well, except in this case, at least with respect to what's before the committee, it certainly has a sunset provision in it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Do we have a motion on this? Senator Bell so moved. Any compelling reason to close, Mr. Chairman?
Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you.
And I'll definitely take the concerns and the comments of the committee back to the author.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is due pass to appropriations. Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Wynn. Bell. Bell, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Laura. Laura, aye. Morlock. Morlock, no. Pavley. Pavley, aye. You have 5-1.
5-1. We'll hold that open for Senator